all of you, and I'm hoping that COVID times are also turning out to be learning times. At least I have explored that, and I'm trying to learn new things. It's getting crazier in the schedule, but I'm just loving it. So in the process, She Engine reached out and they requested for, what is the topic that is close to your heart, and what can you share with people about? I think what's close to everybody's heart is leadership. End of the day, when you grow up, when you see your parents, you see role models around you, you see your teachers, you see anyone, and there are some people, some group of people that stay in your heart, right? And some people who inspire you always. Now that's been intriguing all my life and so far, and I've come a long way. I've been working for more than 16 years now, and 10 plus years in strategic HR, OD, behavioral science. Recently I did an NLP. So it's very interesting to understand how human behavior works in order to ensure that you lead, but at the same time in the interest of everyone. So therefore the topic today, authentic leadership. Okay, now authenticity, I don't have to tell you all what authenticity is, but it essentially means that you be true to yourself, right? What more can you do if you're not true to yourself, if you do not believe, if you do not dream, if you do not think, and you're not able to convey this back to the group of people that you see every day, you are with every day. It doesn't help the purpose, right? You may have a great sense of purpose. If you're not able to articulate, you will not have people following you. So one very good thing that I heard before I bring up my slides, I think the slides are actually placeholders. So that you don't get bored of looking at me. So I'll just bring that up before we go on. So today we will discuss various models of authentic leadership. All right, and there are so many various models out there. So interesting that I want to read them like right now. No, I'm sorry. These are boring and I would never love to read them. So that was just a little prank so that you guys at least smile. Okay, this is not a serious subject. This is a subject which I think all of us know how to do it. There is just this little reminders that we get through such webinars, through the great job Shenzhen is doing, through the great job that Samir and team, Murli and team, Ankita, all of you are doing. For us to remember, for us to go back and remember that what do we, end of the day, mean by leadership as a word. And authentic here, I'm going to use as an adverb, okay? Because unless you do, you don't realize, all right? And doing is the best strategy anybody can have. And when I'm going to take you through this journey today, we're going to think about some great stories, okay? We'll talk about stories. And then I'll probably tell you that, where does this articulate? And what are the 2-3 things that there are 4 takeaways that you will remember in the end, and probably it may help you. You may want to improvise. If you have any thoughts, inputs through the process, I'll be really happy to hear back. And I would like to improvise my thought process as well in the journey. So authentic, like I said, is true to yourself. Okay, it's a Greek word. Again, I think a lot of such fancy words have come from Greeks, and thanks to them. For anybody who's a hardcore Indian, yes, we have a lot of Sanskrit words also, but this one is Greek. All right. So this guy is no new to you. You have seen this guy all your life. If you've gone to college, if you've gone to school, you know who he is. He's Albert Einstein. And the one thing that I liked about what I was reading through, because I wanted to come and talk to you people, so I wanted some things to even refresh my own memory on what goes in when you talk about a leader. So only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Okay, big statement. A lot of wisdom out there. Are these people known to you? I'm sure they are. So these are no unknown names. Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa. Now, why did I pick up these names? Not that you guys don't know them. Not that, this is something different than I'm going to tell you. Let me make a disclaimer. I'm not going to tell you something different. You all are aware of these things that we are going to speak about. I'm again repeating, we are going to do a refresher on what are certain things that in today's times have specially become really, really important. Okay. Now, what was very different about these 4 people that we have seen, okay, or any leaders that inspire you? So number one is, so leadership is a choice. Okay. You don't have to say that I was in an organization for 10 years, I never got to be a leader. I think that's a wrong thought process itself. You need to begin thinking that You can lead from anywhere. You can lead from the middle, you can lead from left, right, top, bottom. And that's why it's called a choice. Now with choice comes the lot of things that are associated with it. When you make a choice, you need to also live with the consequences of the choice. Okay, good, bad, ugly. So you need to remember one thing very clearly, that great leaders are faithful servants. Okay, the theme that we will run deep on today is serve as a leader, and that is where authenticity comes. Now another very good thing which all these four people were, they were obsessed and addicted to their dreams, okay, to what they wanted to achieve. And that's where authentic leaders, or any leader, can become a leader if he or she has a vision. If you do not have a vision, you don't have a dream, you don't want to reach somewhere, if you don't know, if you yourself are lost, why should people follow you? Why should people rally behind you? All right, there are so many people walking on the road. Does everybody talk like the way Martin Luther King spoke? You think nobody in his generation had that idea? I think everybody had. A lot of people must have had, a lot of people must have faced those issues, but he brought that out, right? So I have a dream is such a famous speech. Mahatma Gandhi's entire story is about power distribution. If you look at the theme that he took up, he received power from people to be able to live what he dreamed, and then he gave the power back to people. Now, very important thing to understand is, when you receive power from people, when I say you receive power from people, when you inspire people, they tend to leave their decisions on you, right? They trust you. And they think that whatever you do will be in the best of their benefit and will do good to the society at large, okay? At heart, most of the human beings are like that. I've worked across many people. And the one common thing is that, end of the day, are we doing any good out of this, right? That's the basic premise of anybody who has decent or moderate values. Good values, absolutely, they'll have that. So Mahatma Gandhi had this very typical style of receiving power and giving it back. And that's where you saw this huge independence story that we have seen, right? Which was not met before he came here. Now, there are a lot of controversies in politics and everything, but I would like to go with the good part of it. And in the interest of time, since we can't debate on the good and bad practices, so we'll pick up only the leadership qualities and talk about that. Similarly, Nelson Mandela, very simple thought process, anti-slavery, liberating the Black Africans and stuff like that. Again, Martin Luther King had a dream so that whites and blacks in America were treated equal. And imagine the kind of change that it brought about. Okay, and people, I'm hoping you've seen that video of him giving the speech, and the immense number of people in that crowd who were just listening to him, and he was sharing his personal story. So the ability to connect with the down to the common level is very critical in the case of leadership. Now, in the case of authentic leadership, what is very critical is how your personal values align with the overall attributes of yours as a leader. We'll learn about that more in the upcoming slides. Now, this one is my personal favorite, and you may not like me about it, but this guy has been, his election speech was all about hope and change. I know by now you know who the person I'm talking about. The humility that he wears on his sleeve, the way he talks to people, the way he connects with the downtrodden to the uppermost class of people is amazing. The energy is amazing. So I've just put this slide up here. So you just go back in history, try to learn, try to understand what are these people doing right. Do not in your head. So what we do as human beings, we try to reason a lot, and reasoning is good, but analysis shouldn't lead to paralysis, and you shouldn't get stuck in what's the wrong thing about it, right? Therefore, the best part of leadership and authentic leadership is, the one trait that you should remember is optimism. Okay, look at the optimistic and assertive view of a leader, of anybody who's ever inspired you, and I'm sure you will find these 4 or 5 traits up there. Okay, now we looked at political examples. Now I want to give you some examples from the corporate world. Now these are going to be different people. These are going to be international people. Please don't try to again think that we don't see any Indians in there. I have not thought about that. I just picked up good examples that I loved and I wanted to share with you all. So this guy, I don't know if you've read about him. Okay, his name is Robert Townsend. I've written about him up there. He's a famous, his famous book was a bestseller. It's still in the Wharton top first book to be read. It's called Up the Organization. If you have some time, go look up on Google. You will find the PDF or buy a copy and read it. Amazing story. Now, what he talks about, his theory of leadership is leadership without ego. Okay. Now, all this, whatever I'm going to tell you, is going to converge into authentic leadership. All right. Now, leadership without ego itself. I mean, look at the way he's sitting. So the reason I picked up this picture is because I just loved the ease with which and the vulnerability with which he's, just relaxed and looking into what's going on. So he was, before joining Avis is a car rental company in US. He was the CEO for Amex, okay, American Express. And somebody just, the Avis earlier management forced him to join the company. They were a car rental company. They were not making money at all. And after he joined, he transformed the organization. That's a long story. But what's very important is, what he does. I'm going to talk to about these three stories. These three people on the screen are going to come up. And only one point I'm going to pick up and tell you so that it's easy to remember. Okay. So with this person, Robert, he's also called Bob Townsend. Okay. Bob had this habit of, sitting in the rental, like a rental booth and work with the salesman on a day and rent out cars. Now look at it, okay? The CEO of the company sitting out there and trying to do the job for a day, just one day, or maybe a few hours he must have done it. But as a practice, he kept doing it. Now look at the inspiration that people around him must have gotten, right? It sounds very, not real, but I don't think it's not doable. I have been in my capacity trying to do as much as possible in the organization that I have. The kind of people I'm responsible right now is about more than 10,000. Okay. And what I do is I do not sit in my office, okay, and talk to people. I go around, I go to the floors, and a lot of people don't even know who I am. But by now, after a year and a half of that role, people know that if we go there, she's going to solve it. It's going to get done. So the credibility and trust and everything takes time, right? And you will reach that story only when your ego goes out of it, right? So the ego equation has to be out. There is something called self-respect. There's something called ego, and I'm sure you all know the definition. So leadership without ego is a very good thing to start with when you want to do something different in life. Now, the other gentleman that you see up there is Herb Keller, and he was the founder and CEO of Southwest Airlines. The one good, you can actually go and look him up. Okay, he has a lot of stuff written, and it's called a lot of taglines that he writes. Amazing stuff he had written. He's no more. 2019, we lost him. So what he used to do is he used to do the baggage boy job once in a month, one whole day in an airport. Baggage boy job. You would know, right? All of you would have taken flights before coronavirus hit us. Yeah. So he used to pick up those baggages, do the whole duty, and the people around him, just to see the fact that such a senior person is coming down on the floor and trying to do this. Now, you think, people like these did it for show off? I don't think so. Okay. And I would want to believe optimistically and assertively, if I have to learn from it, that it was not to show, but it was to show a different thing, that I can do what you're doing. And this is not a job which is downtrodden. This is super critical. If you don't get the baggage in time for people, they have their meetings, they could lose a job, somebody could be sick and people might have to reach home early. There are a lot of things connected when you think about customers, right? So that's what he used to do, okay, once in a month. And since it is pandemic times, I wanted to share one example of a pharmaceutical situation. So his name is Dr. Tachi Yamada, okay? Don't kill me, he's from Japan. Okay, so so he was for many years part of an organization. I will not name organizations here for him. Then he joined Bill and Melinda's organization also as a chairperson and a president. And now he is working for this company called Takeda, which is his own company. And what he does is, what he did that time when he was taking care of, he was responsible for Africa as a region many years back. This is when HIV and AIDS hit as a epidemic, or whatever the disease was spread, malaria, HIV, and there were multiple diseases that got spread at that point in time. And a lot of these medicine making companies started manufacturing a lot of medicine. The way you see this, stress today in the world, there was similar stress at that point in time. Of course, not at the degree that we have locked down globally, but then yes, it was not an easy thing to handle. But what happened was the medicine charges, or the cost was $1,000 a month for a person if they had to take those medicines, okay, which was not doable for many people who were average or less than average earning people of the world or the downtrodden societies. So he taught us the power of one. Okay. The one thing that I remember from his story is the power of one. We usually feel that to make a change, it's very difficult, it's very complex, it's a big corporate, who's going to listen to us? I don't believe that's right. And from my experience also, it has worked up to the ladders, and there have been multiple layers between me and the CEO or the CXOs. But if you have the right messaging, if you touch the heart of the organization, if you align with the values of the organization, trust me, it works. People listen to you, if not the first time, the second time, the third time. And that's why persistence, ego, and doing it, all these combinations are absolutely important in order to be, persevering what you want to achieve. And what he did was he went and, he was the only one who went and told the chairman of the company that, why did you start the medical company in the first place? Was it to serve the people or was it to make money? So it's very, I'm saying it in a very raw form right now. I'm sure it's a long deliberation, and there is a good story about it, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen, there is a Harvard Business Review on him, which I've read. And if you get your hand on it, please read it. It's a very interesting story. I read it from there. And, he spoke to them and he touched the heart of the organization and he touched the culture of the organization to be able to reach to a wider audience with respect to the medicine that was getting created. And that, created this so much passion in the scientists around the world that they volunteered to work for free and research for free for the organization. Can you imagine? Can you beat that? Now, did he do that so that people could work for free? I don't think so. His intention was clean. He wanted people to receive medicine. He wanted people to afford medicine, right? That was his simple story. But look at the impact that happens when your intention and what you want to do is right value wise. The rest of the things, I think universe answers and things happen. Okay, is my belief. And it's been working so far for me. And I trust that if you try this, it'll work for you as well. So here for these three gentlemen, what I've picked up is the power of one, leadership without ego, and doing is the best strategy of leaders. All right, let's go next. So 4 key takeaways. Okay. Now this is something that I just typed out thinking, and while I was researching a lot about the kind of material that I was going through to come to talk to you, this is a very special moment to talk to all of you. And I did not want to, have a meeting where you do not take some things away from here. So there are 4 things that I have specifically, loved. And one is, can you imagine the awesome responsibility that we as leaders hold at our specific levels to influence people who come to work to believe every day that the organization, trusts them, believes in them, and will stand for them, right? So employees are in a relationship. So people are in a relationship with the organization, and so is the organization. Now, people can express. An organization has people like us who are leaders to express. Okay. Now, management and leadership, let's split between these two. Okay. It's in the upcoming slide, but I'll bring it up right away. So management, we always have this confusion, is management and leadership different or same? And I'm sure you read a lot about that. But there is one simple definition that I came across, I think I'll share with you. So management, you can manage quality, you can manage time, you can manage money. Okay. When it is people, the only choice that you have is lead. Even the language of saying I manage 10 people, that language, that sentence is wrong. All right. In its sense, the sentence is wrong. You're not managing them. They're not commodity. You need to lead them. You need to convey to them that the values they have, the values that we have and the organization has, there's a certain level of, intersection in all of this. And that is where we need to meet and converge, right? Now jump in the trench and get them. Okay. So there are certain situations where, somebody's doing some dirty job, and even the office boys or women in my office who need help sometimes, I don't wait if there is a rush for them to lift the table or a chair. It's a very simple example I'm giving you. And what happens when you do that simple thing is people around you observe. Please understand, people are looking at you, right? This is the way you inspire. I'm not saying you do it on purpose. Okay, do it genuinely, be genuine. And that's what we're talking about, authentic leadership. Do it because it is required, it is the need of the hour to do it. Don't do it to show off, because that will not be classified as authenticity. Okay. And then you would know that acting cannot go on forever. And when the camera is off and when you're vulnerable, people will get to know, right? People have great networks. So, even if you don't tell them, they get to know. So it's good to be fair to yourself. It's good to be true to yourself and your values. And the moment you do that, trust me, they will find their own way of doing things. You will not need to make a detailed plan for them to do things. The day you stop making plans for your people and inspire them to do it, your job there is done. And trust me, they will surprise you. Their plans will be aligned with what you want to achieve. And if they have a doubt, and because you're a leader, they will have the ease of approaching you and talking to you and getting the validation from you that whether they're thinking, whatever they're thinking, is it right? Is there any coaching or counseling required? Is there any mentoring required in the process? That's what authentic leadership is all about. All right. Again, third point I think I spoke to you about is remember that people give you power, right? And when if you don't return it back, you're not going to get it back. Okay. And you know what it causes then? I love this term, egoic delusional leadership journey. Egoic delusional leadership journey. So what happens is it becomes suddenly about you. When you don't return the power, it suddenly becomes centralized in you, and you feel that you're a gift to mankind, and whatever you say has to be followed. And then what happens is slowly the sound of people goes down, and people are not going to tell you what you're going to do wrong, because you've created this shell around you and you're suddenly not reachable. And then you'll realize this feeling of holding a tight ball in your heart, that you're not allowing people in, you're not allowing energies in, right? So therefore the key attributes, if you look at point number 4, the key attributes, just to sum it up: visionary, optimistic, passionate, charismatic. Now charismatic doesn't mean that you look great and you look like George Clooney or whoever, Sandra Bullock. But what it means is you are enthusiastic, you're energetic. If you're not energetic, you think people are going to come to a leader and say, oh yeah, we are going to do this, we have a plan. Does it even motivate you? No. But the energy with which you walk in the office, the energy and enthusiasm that you bring to the table, that's what encourages people to behave the way you behave. And trust, believe me, credibility and trust, these are two key levers again. If you're going to badmouth somebody and they get to know, because people get to know, okay, the trust is going to go down. You like it or you don't like it. And if trust levels stay high, they soon turn into being faith. And faith is the utmost layer of trust. Okay, they trust in you endlessly, and they know that what you will do will be right for them, right? Then even if you give them negative feedback, you teach them assertively that hey, you know what, you need to learn 1 2 3 4 5 6 things, and unless you do that, no promotion is happening, no growth is happening, no increment is happening. So these things will be taken as positive feedback. Unless you have that relationship with them, it's not going to strike the chord. Okay, that's just one example. It will definitely, if you follow these things, it will show in the profits of your organization also. Okay. Now, most importantly, all the attributes that we mentioned in point 4, where we said visionary, optimistic, passionate, charismatic, enthusiastic, energetic, trustworthy, have to align with the personal values of the leader. Okay. You yourself need to have some values around it, that it did somebody do something wrong to someone. So if you can't deal with it, then that is your intrinsic value and you want to correct it. You'll go to any extent to correct it. You get obsessed with it, you get addicted with it, right? And that is when you form a vision. So I want to meet 7,000 employees across the center, and I make it a mandate. And my whole HR team struggles that, how are we going to do this? How are we going to start? And I started walking around on the floors and started talking to people and laughing with them, enjoying with them. While they were talking to me, they said, oh, you know what? The AC is not working. Oh, you know what? The chair is broken. What if I turned around and said, you know what? I am the head of HR. I am not admin person. Can you please go and talk to the admin person? What will happen? Suddenly I switch off. There is a shell that you create. But if you feel that the organization is your family, everything is your problem. Everything is your problem. And you try to solve it, right? You'll not believe 7,000 employees were met by 5 HR professionals within 2 days. Within 2 days. There is no exaggeration in this. All right. So things can be done. If you lead the way, you show the way, people will find their own way. Do not micromonitor, please. I I have a huge issue with people who micromonitor. Please don't go that path ever. If you're in your journey of your life, getting into being a leader, don't do it. If you are in a position where you are led by somebody who's doing it, so there are two things you can always learn from leaders, right? Number one is what to do, and number two is what not to do. Okay, so I'm not saying you have perfect managers, perfect leaders, but if they're not perfect, at least learn what not to do. All right. So this is something that was closest to what I was looking for. Okay, and I didn't want to start this presentation with a triangle as a model or a framework. And what we're focusing on here is service. We spoke from the beginning about international leaders who are well known worldwide, globally known, and nobody would challenge that they were great leaders. So I mentioned about Mahatma Gandhi and others, and and then we saw a few leaders who were in the corporate world, who you may have seen, may not have seen, but that's the kind of leaders that people usually aspire to become or to work with, right? So what is this two great things that you need to know? One is service. Service is the key. Okay, it's not about you, it's about them. Okay, leave the person 10 times or 2 times or 1 time better than what you found them. Okay, leave a situation better than what you found it in. Okay, if you just remember this thing, it's helped me a lot immensely. And what I have done is to validate what I've been doing, I try to read a lot so that I don't come and tell you something which is not right and not up there. Okay, so service. Now what is the other critical part? How can you serve? So if you look at the bottommost pyramid part, it is called self-awareness. Okay, so these two things are super critical. One is service, and we have dwelled on service all along, but you'll be able to do it if you have huge self-awareness. How do you do that? So every day when you go back from work, or you go back from your studies, or you go back from your situation in life, reflect in the evening and try to see, did you make a change to something today? Were you able to contribute positively to anything or anyone today? What is it that you did great today? Give yourself a rating. You do not need people to give you a rating, trust me. You do not need your leaders to come and tell you what you did wrong, what you did right. The gut inside you, the gut feel inside you is your GPS system. It tells you whether you did something right or wrong. Okay, you may go fight with your leaders on what rating they gave you, but look at yourself, inner self, and be real to yourself. Don't be unrealistic on what you did. Now, if you take care of self-awareness and service, why am I saying these two are very critical? Is because of deep self-awareness, you have a clear vision, because then you know what you want to do, where you want to go. You are clear in your head. If I do not trust in my dreams, how will I expect others to trust in my dreams, right? Who's going to believe me? Therefore, the self-awareness. Now, if your service area is strong, that you are here to serve, okay, your values will be clean, your relationships will be genuine, and if your relationships are genuine, people will reciprocate appropriately. All right, and it's a real life situation for me. I'm not telling you all something which is not doable. Trust me. You try it, you may like it, you may not like it, but this is easily doable. It's easy. The only strategy to do it is go out there and serve. Whatever you do, come from the area of wanting to serve. All right. The alpha being. Okay. Now, many years back, there used to be tribes, right? And what tribes used to do is they used to have this leader who used to go get food for the people, right? And people used to let him have the first share, him or her have the first share, and then they used to eat the rest. Now, why this? Somebody will say, why this discrimination? Now, if I'll relate to the leadership today, okay? The revenues and all that come. Now, there is a reason to it, okay? The reason and the trust that the people have in the alpha being is basically, it could be a male, female, anybody in power who has more influence on doing things better for the society. Okay, that's the only meaning of alpha being, and who's very powerful of the entire tribe. Okay, so why people do this? Why do people give a lot of leverage and benefits to leaders? And we all think that, oh God, you know what? I slog, and what does this person do? And they get so much benefit. Now, unfortunately, you'll never know till the time you step into their shoes what goes on in their life. But one thing that I can tell you is the reason people like us trust and give them all those leverages and benefits is because we believe that the day comes where we need help or we need to be supported or guarded, the alpha being is going to stand in the front and lead from the front, right? That's the expectation. You break that once and people are not going to come back to you and not going to treat you as leaders beyond a point. Okay, that's the simple message that I wanted to pass through that one image and the alpha being word. Okay, so they make growth of others their priority. Okay, what is very important and what's very close to my heart is anybody who works in my team, my intention is that if I found this person n+1, I want to make this person n+2 at least, if not n+10 when I leave the team. Okay, that's the sole intention. And tell me something, in the process, do we not grow? Of course we do. And the sooner you make yourself redundant as a leader, the better the leader you are. Trust me, if you have zero handoff to give when you resign, you've done a great job. You've done a damn great job. Okay. What's next? So building genuine relationships. I spoke about this already. Genuine behavior with others and within these relationships. So behavior has to be genuine, and that will be genuine if your values and the attributes map to a certain extent. All right. And certain things, you know what, I'm trying to tell you and explain it to you, but go experience it yourself. You will love yourself more than what you do today. So what has happened actually over the years of definition of leadership and authenticity and all that is the focus of serve is gone away, unfortunately. Okay. And one very critical thing, leaders eat last. If you're authentic, you will not take the benefit first. You will first share and then you will go ahead and take it. Now, it may sound unreal for a lot of reasons, but it's not like literal, you don't take the salary and you give your salary to others. That's not what I meant. What I'm trying to say is that the share of happiness or the share of fulfillment or the share of learning or the share of credit, that's a big topic in corporates and organizations, that some leader, you know what, this person does not give credit. And I don't care hereafter, I'm not going to do a good job with this person. Why does that feeling come? Because the trust is gone, right? However, a great leader will coach the person and still go out and say that, you know what, she or he is the father or the mother of this creation that has been created right now in our organization. This process was designed by the person. It elevates the self-esteem, it elevates the confidence in people, and thereby helps you become better leader, because I'm sure you have better things to take care of than, taking credit on those small things that people achieve in their day-to-day life. It means the world to them, trust me. So 5 things I will leave you with is an authentic leader's mindset. Remember 5 things: self-awareness, self-reflection, character, very critical, very, very critical. If your character, if something is wrong there, nothing else matters, okay? Unbiased processing. Now, automatically, if the top 3 are taken care, self-awareness, self-reflection, character, you will end up being unbiased, all right? Trust me, there's maths to it. And then major purpose still remains to serve others. The main point again coming here is the major purpose of authentic leadership is being able to serve others, and also teaching through your behavior, through this practice, your teams are learning, your people are watching you, and they are going to grow into more authentic leaders. So the dearth of leadership that's out there today can be filled by us. We don't need to wait for a Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or people like that to come back to planet Earth. But we can all do it in our own levels and in the layers that we live in, right? So basically, it's quite simple that way. People want to be in a relationship where someone sees the best in them. Don't you? When you are at your home, when you're with your family, when you're with your spouse or, girlfriend, boyfriend, or any relationships that you are in, your parents, will you love to be with a person who keeps saying that, something is wrong with you, this is wrong with you, you should do better, you don't dress well, you don't carry yourself well. Beyond a point, it'll exhaust you. Now, what helps is, I've always believed in working on and leveraging the strength of the person. I think we miss the point when we try to give feedback in a lot of conversations in organizations, okay? We shouldn't go in the direction of fixing what the person doesn't know. Yes, grooming is required. Some steps should be taken there. It should be started. But what's very important is leverage what the person is totally great at. And trust me, it does wonders to the person. It does wonders to the organization. Okay, because there's no perfect way to find a perfect person in the team, trust me, no matter how many interviews you take. Interview is a lie that two people say to each other. The person who's hiring and the person who's getting hired, you're at the best of your behavior, right? The way you do your courtship, you see a girl and a guy the first time, and you're at the best of your behavior, right? That's what happens in hiring. So no matter what you try, no matter how much you ask, no matter how many assessments you do, there's no way to get that perfect person that you wanted, right? Because values are intrinsic, and therefore has the best intent to make them better than what they found them. That has, I've lived by this so far. Touch wood, I've been able to live by this, and it's helped a lot. There are a lot of colleagues who are happy with this kind of thought process, and they are now practicing in their own way in their own teams, and that makes me feel very, very proud. I mentioned this earlier to you, but I'm just highlighting here on the slide. So in case you want to take a note of this, it's up there on Google. You can go and look it up. But yeah, quality, time, and money. You can, and look at it like this, okay? So quality, time, and money, you can manage. And it takes immense amount of money to manage and improvise quality in an organization. If you have worked in senior levels in an organization, you will believe that it takes immense amount of money to fix these three things, okay? But if you fix one thing, which is people, and you lead them right, the top three elements get taken care of. They get managed. You do not need a manager for it anymore. There'll be different roles that people will play. It's not that managers are not needed. Please don't get there. Those are roles in an organization. I'm talking about the behavior of leadership, okay? And I want to leave you with this thought. So Oprah Winfrey said one day, no matter who it was, murderer or Beyonce or a politician or a corporate leader, each and every one seeks one thing, which is validation, okay? And the validation, in this context, why did I like it, is because validation comes from deep self-awareness, very, very deep self-awareness, self-reflection, right? So I think I shared what I had to share with you all. Thank you for being very, very patient. These are few things that I could share in 40 minutes with you all. I do not want to give you a dope, which is, you can't take it back home and you can't practice something about it. But I'm happy to discuss if you have any thoughts around it.
Thank you, Deeraj. And I think we already have started receiving a few questions. Uh,
Okay, Shruti,
yeah.
how do you demonstrate authentic leadership? Through few characteristics which defines. So Shruti, if you would have seen in an earlier slide, I did mention that when you see somebody in a lot of action in your life, you would have seen somebody who inspires you a lot. It's more now. Okay, let me take a very close Indian example. Is Baba Amte. Okay, do we all not respect him? Do we not try? Everyone wants to do a bit the way he does it. Sindhu Tai, the lady who's known as the mother of every child that she takes up, right? So these are people. I'm not saying you go and become a philanthropist, okay? That's not what I'm suggesting. But in your own way, in the area, if you have like responsible for 10 people, show them that you're approachable. Show them that you act in a way that inspires them. If a file falls down and you pick it up or you help somebody, even those small gestures are very helpful. Now that's a very small act. But when people are doing late nights, what my behavior personally has been, I don't go home. If my people are in the office, I do not go home. In fact, I would want to leave 5 minutes later than them after I know that they have reached home. Okay, so why are these two things important? Doing what you're doing and even executing these kind of efforts of being there, doing it yourself, is because of credibility, right? Now people also should trust you because you're credible. You have the competence, you know your job, you know what you're doing, and then you can inspire them, right? So the behavior is, you cannot go ahead without competency. But one very good thing is that vulnerability as a leader, telling the team that, hey, you know what, I can't do this alone, I need help. I think a lot of leaders go sort of shirk away for saying that they need help, especially in the times that we are now in the COVID times. I think it's all the more critical for people to say it out and say, I need help, let's all get together and do this together, right? So those are things which are very critical. So positivity, optimism in the way we talk. So leaders will always, Shruti, they will always find hope. Okay, they will always find change, a good way to move forward. Okay, they're forward looking. They'll not crib about the past. You'll see people who will keep cribbing about what happened in history and not move forward. So these people are great at that. Okay, they try to move forward. They try to look at it. Okay, what next? What next? What next? And that keeps the vision and as a moving target, and that keeps people moving, right? So these are few things, Shruti. If you try to observe, it may be able to help you identify if you've not been able to quickly pick on them. Soma. I'm trying to read Soma's comment. Only years of working experience cannot bring leadership quality in a person. Some with less experience or no experience at all can great leader people, great with understanding different individuals just the way they are. Absolutely. Soma, I completely agree with this. And that's why I said from the beginning that leadership is a choice. Nobody has to come and tell you that, you know what, now you have become 10 years, now you have to be a leader, now you have to lead. It's not a job, okay? It's a behavior. And that behavior is present in, you look at small kids, you see kids playing, there'll be one leader in that group, always, right? I'm talking about a very small scale example here, but it does relate to, it does not need number of years of experience. Yeah, what happens is with number of years of experience, you know where you could potentially fall, but which is fair, which can happen anytime, right? There are people who are in a particular situation, stuck in a role forever and don't even move forward. What do I do with that age? Even if the person has experience, what do I do with that experience? So yeah, great point. Thank you. It does. Okay, the power distance works, Naveen, and so does the servant leader mindset. But when I was reading for this session, Naveen, what I realized was that what worked more and what really inspired people was the inclination towards servant leadership. And it's not about being feeling small and all, but pulling your sleeves up and doing it. And unless I've observed this through years, we have a lot of leadership that has churned. People who do it know it's just common sense. People just love them when they're in action. It's infectious. That energy is infectious. That's the reason. That's my perspective. That that helps better than a power distance, because power distance, if you look at the industrial revolution, when that happened, that power distancing kind of a situation came in. Okay, and then there were so many definitions of leadership. But the core and the heart of it, I think still, if you want to read more about it, Naveen, please do read. But it was very intriguing while I was reading for this session today that I found that point. While we see Tanvi, I'm reading yours. Best of leaders you mentioned as leaders in the past, we see present which are non-authentic, authentic, leading countries like America, North Korea, Singapore. Do you see a change in leadership? Okay, Tanvi. Okay, that's a political one, Tanvi. Okay, yes. And you have answered it. You have listed down what you don't like. You have listed down what is the opposite. If you mention what you don't like, I have understood that you got the point of what authentic is. And if it is not authentic, it is not authentic. You think Americans are happy about it? I don't think so. Initially they were, but as intentions become clearer, I don't know, I'm not a great politician, but I'm just sharing what I see. People find out. People are smart. Trust me, people are smart. They don't go by, your flowery language. For some time, that may help you go on, or that may help you win an election, but it doesn't help sustain. Yeah, that's a good point, Tanvi. Thank you. Kirti, I'm reading yours. What are the benefits of softening the boundaries between leaders and followers, as George's model suggests? Any drawbacks? Benefits of softening the boundaries. Benefits of softening the boundaries. Okay, I've never thought about that because it comes very naturally to me as a person. When you soften the boundaries, you know what happens, Kirti, is that people start melting into you in the right sense. Okay, they start melting into you because I believe firmly that we don't bring two individuals to our organization, right? They have a personal point of view, and then when they come to office, they behave a little differently. I think they should behave the same way, essentially, okay? Because I'm not here to create split-minded personalities in the organization. I want them to come. I want them to feel at home, and I want them to behave the way they behave at home, or vice versa. Or at least when we send them back, they are better people, and then we can have reduced number of divorce and personal trauma and psychic issues and so many things that happen. Okay, So softening boundaries really helps. I think it has a lot of benefits, Kirti, you name it, and that list is endless. And I've seen health of people getting impacted and modified for good, I mean to say, if you soften those boundaries, because there is so much stress that gets created if there is a distance relationship, and you feel that the leaders at the top, I am here, how do I even say things? The moment you reduce that, there is a lot of unimportant stuff that goes out the window, and important stuff comes in the window. Unimportant stuff such as taking leave, such as falling sick and telling you, such as family not well and telling you, such as child needing support and not telling you, such as nowadays in India also you have a lot of old age care situations that our generation is going through, and taking care of that. Let them pour it out. Yeah, so it helps, Kirti, it helps a lot. Priyal, how to become a leader in one's own capacity? How can a junior in any organization show leadership? Okay, Priyal, that's a difficult one. Okay, now I've been doing this all along. I joined the organization that I work for today when I was not married. I'm here still. I have two beautiful daughters, and when I joined, I was very junior, but I never shirked away from sharing my point of view. Learn to have a point of view. It is also called POV in common terms. Okay, learn to have a POV, and the moment you start having POV, you keep reflecting, you keep validating yourself, right? That what I'm going to say, is that making sense? Ask yourself first. Okay, do it quick, don't take forever, don't do analysis paralysis, think fast and ask. And people will observe and they'll pick you up, left, right, center, they'll pick you up. I've experienced this firsthand. If you need any help, let me know, I'll be happy to talk to you in detail. Thank you, Kirti. Harshit. We see leaders like Ratan Tata on one hand, who is empathetic and simple living, and we also see leaders like Mukesh Ambani, who focuses more on driving growth for his business and not so empathetic. How do you see this difference and which one to follow, because both are good leaders? Yes, Harshit, this is true. Now, one question to you and others. How do you know that Ratan Tata is empathetic and Ambani is not empathetic? How do we know that? Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is a lot of these things are emotions, are perceptions. So I did something fantastic some time back. I did NLP. Okay, it's neuro linguistic programming. Sounds very fancy, but it's amazing. If you get a chance, please do it. Okay, it teaches you a lot about human behavior and all these myths of what people think and all. At least you get some answer to yourself. Okay, so in that, a very critical thing was perception is projection. So the trainer showed us two pictures. Okay, and there were two women in the picture. One picture had a lady dressed up for a party. The other one was a very strange lady with glasses and looks like a nerd and all that. Okay, and then he asked, did you find a difference in them? And eventually we got to, and we all found difference, let me tell you. Okay, we did not resemble them to each other, but they were same people. Those two women were one person. So what happens is, the situation that you are in, you end up giving a perception to people. Now I'm sitting like this dressed up for you because there is a session today. Okay, if you come to my house and just walk by, you may not recognize me. Okay, so does that mean that I don't carry myself well? Maybe not, right? It's situational. And therefore what I'm trying to come at is, we don't know whether Mr. Ambani is really unempathetic. I don't think it's possible to build such a big empire without being unempathetic, frankly speaking. I think it's the way they speak, the way they project their thoughts, is where people form perceptions. I think that's my point of view, Harshit. I haven't been very closely associated with Mr. Ambani. The day we get to do that, one of us, you or me, I think we'll share notes. Okay, Abhidipta. Hi, Abhidipta. How frequently does leaders need to take feedback from stakeholders and subordinates to enhance their skill set? Lovely. Good question. Is there a definition when we should take feedback? I don't think so. I have answered this earlier. If you go back and think, ask yourself, self-reflect, self-awareness, and that you will get when you are going down the layers, talking to people at every level, okay, having conversation at every level, okay, you will get to know, trust me. People are very upfront, okay, when they know you can do nothing to them because they are so junior You guys must have watched Three Idiots, right? Okay, so what happened in that movie, when those people came late and they wrote their papers and they mixed their papers, they asked the teacher, do you know who I am? The teacher said, I don't know. And they mixed the papers and they left from there. Yeah. So when I am, working for 7,000 employees and I'm going and meeting people, you think I'll remember? And so do they know that will she remember? She'll not remember. So they'll be natural. And that's why the people who will manage perception are people who are N-1. So people who report to me and people who report to them. So 2 layers down, they'll be very conscious. That's why going down the layers is very critical. And that feedback should happen consistently. It should become a behavior, Abhidipta. Okay. It should not become an effort. So for me, if you ask me, when I'm in office, I hardly sit on my laptop. I'm talking to people all through my day. I'm talking to people. And this lockdown has actually killed that behavior of mine. So I'm calling people. I keep calling them and talking to them, checking in with them. Is everything okay? How's life going? I don't talk about work, and work happens, trust me. Zero escalations. Yeah. Thank you.
So guys, in case you have any more questions, you can please feel free to get in touch with Deeraj. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to respond to all your questions. Having said that, I want to thank you all for attending today's session. Thank you so much, Deeraj, for such a wonderful session. And as I mentioned earlier, all of our the webinar series is still on, and we have a very few interesting webinars coming in the near future. So in case you are interested, I've just given all the links here. So in case you're interested, you can go and register yourself for the future webinars as well. Thank you all for joining today. Thank you, Deeraj.
Thank you so much. Good day, all of you. Stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Very much.